of Zionsville, and I am a specialty market remodeler for custom homes and remodeling for aging in place. So what that means typically is that if I have clients that call me up that are looking to adapt a home that has a universal design to it, it's really more of a specific need for either a disability or for aging in place or some kind of a chronic illness that is prohibitive of a family or an individual living in the house to the fullest of their needs. But also universal design is one that takes into consideration other families and friends that may want to be coming to your house to visit you. You may not have the disability, but you may have something with your house that is prohibitive of people coming to visit you, like maybe multiple steps getting up to the front steps, or accessibility through a specific room, or how you enjoy your space. So making your house is about a lifetime achievement. So you want to make it so that it's comfortable, you want to make it so that it's livable. And also the most important thing is you want to make it look stylish. You don't want to have an institutionalized looking house, so when people come there, they feel comfortable when they're living there or coming to see you. Universal design is the design of products. It's the environment to be usable by all people to the greatest extent possible without the need for adaptation or specialized design. Homes should be designed for support, comfort, efficiency, safety, independence, and change. So with universal design, there are three primary focuses to universal design to make it, comfortable for all who come in. So you have the aging in place, the baby boom population that's moving into that category. You have those who have chronic conditions, cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy. And then you have traumatic conditions where you have people who have spine injuries or head injuries or any kind of a surgery that basically keeps them from using the space that they can fully use. So all with one primary goal, and that's of universal design, to keep you at home longer. So the thing that's important with it is that you want to make it so that it's functional. So when you walk into a kitchen space, where's your microwave? Is it above the cabinet where you can't really get to it if you've had surgery? Is the dishwasher easy to get into? Is the washer and dryer easy to get into? It's all these little things that you got to take into consideration as you go through one part of the house to the next part of the house. Accessible design into the home. Many people have unnecessary barriers and obstacles that can make life more difficult. So when you look at your house, how many steps does it take to get into the front doorstep? How many steps does it take for you to get into another part of the house? Do you have thresholds that go through a bathroom? So on the slide you see their accessible design into the home. Thresholds are key, they're very important. So typically when you walk into your house, you may not think about this, but if you have a walker or if you have a wheelchair or if you have some kind of a disability where you can't raise your leg higher than a shelf off the floor, the threshold that you see to your left there basically has 1.5 inches rise to it. Whereas when I'm doing homes or remodels, my goal is to put the thresholds out to the right, so as you go over, it's basically like driving over a set of railroad tracks. You get a little bit of a bump, but you're allowed to go across it with a walker or wheelchair with low resistance. The next thing you got to think about is accessible design into the home. You have smooth transitions. When you do these homes, you have tile to carpet, and there's a transition point, or you go from carpet to wood, and you have a transition point. The goal is to make those transitions as smooth as possible and seamless as possible. So as you see the picture there with the accessible design into the home, these are really nice looking, stylish, so keep that in mind for universal design. Stylish sidewalks that take you up to the front doorstep. And then you also think about the point of how you go through a house. So 36 inches is pretty much the minimal requirement for you having a house that is going to be usable by a wheelchair or for a walker. You can go up to a 4-foot door if you wanted to. But you all have to think about how that door is going to operate, how it's going to swing, or if it's going to be a pocket door and slide within the framework of the house. Or what's really stylish right now are barn doors. So you put barn doors up and you can get that 4-foot wide or that 36-inch open you're looking for. The other thing to think about is when you do universal design is how the windows open. Some people who are in a wheelchair, they can't pull up on a double hung window, but what's easier for them to do is a crank with an awning or a crank with a type of casement. So always keep in mind when you're doing universal design, how easy is it to roll up in a wheelchair to that window and open it up without having much effort. And then the next thing you got to think about is how you design the kitchen. If you've got wall cabinets, or if you've got microwaves or up above, or you have a microwave, or you have a dishwasher that opens up like a normal dishwasher that you and I would have. You got to think about those microwave drawers or those dishwasher drawers, or putting the microwave down below so you can get to it easier, and it's much safer, especially for the elderly population. So when you think of a lot of the microwaves that are out there, they're up high, so when you reach up there, you're pulling out something that's very, very warm and very hot, and potentially could burn if you're not careful with it. But with microwave drawers, the drawer is down below where you can use it, and you just basically lift it up out of the drawer and put it up on the countertop. And when you look at bathrooms, that's really, when you think about bathrooms, I had a client the other day when I walked into it, and the father, the two daughters were there, the mom and the dad were there, and the dad had a head injury, and he was having a lot of difficulty getting into a small 3 foot by 3 foot shower, and they wanted to increase the size for it. And I told them, what the cost would be, and they really felt that was a very expensive type of a shower. But when you think about how many hours you spend in a shower in a lifetime, in a day or in a week or a month, that's how you kind of have to look at things. It's like, even though you're going to move the mechanical piece of the shower out, you're going to put in all this new plumbing and all this new tile and all this bars that are going to go behind them so they can grab onto things. It ends up, it could be anywhere from a $5,000 to a $10,000 expenditure to take a shower of 3 foot by 3 foot to make it more usable for a handicapped person. And when they think about that, that's your biggest risk of an injury is in your shower. So you got to spend the time to really think through of what you're going to spend to make sure that it's going to be usable for everybody, not just the person that has the handicap or the need. As people start aging in place and they want to think about maybe they're going to do this, they're going to do maybe new construction, that is the time to really talk to the builder or to the remodeler about how you obtain that structural integrity to drop that shower pan below grade. So the goal is that you just transition from the main shower area back out to the floor of the shower or the floor of the bathroom without having thresholds to go over. Universal design is also incorporated for electrical. So as you walk into a house, you want to think about where your switch locations are. If you have someone who has a small stature or they don't have the ability to raise their hand up higher than normally their shoulder and they're in a wheelchair, you might want to think about dropping the electrical switches down to a lower level so they can get to them easier. Having more remote control, so we're in the age of Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, so there's not very many devices out there now that are not available where you can have Wi-Fi capability or control by Bluetooth. So smart home technology is a very important part of universal design or for aging in place. There are just so many different devices out there today that can make a home much user-friendly for anybody out there, where you get into the Nest system, if you want to get into Wi-Fi enabling, where they can operate their lights or they can operate their alarm system. The phone has this really created a much easier opportunity for people to navigate through the house electronically, where if they forgot to turn something off, they can go right to their phone to use it. Sensor devices, window closers, door shutters. You can actually have sensors set up everywhere in your house so that if you have a mom or a dad or a son or a daughter that has some kind of disability, you can actually monitor them coming and going and know where they are exactly in the house if you have the right sensors set up in place. SensiFloor is a good product for patients or family members who have Alzheimer's, and so if they get up in the middle of the night, you can put the SensiFloor right by their bedside, and as they put their feet on it, it'll alarm somebody that they're getting up and going someplace. I'm going to jump to the Universal Design Safe Room technology. This is something I've done on a couple different projects, and what that means is we live in an area where we're subject to tornadoes. And if you look at a lot of the homes that are being built today by the production home builders, the homes are not what I would consider severe weather safe. And so the idea of a safe room technology is basically taking an inside room of a house so that if you have a handicapped person or someone who has a disability, they have the means of getting into a very safe spot during the threat of a severe weather storm. So basically there's a couple ways you can achieve that. Either you put a plywood construction on the interior side of a house and you put hurricane clips and then you screw the plywood to the studs and you make it safe so that in the event that a storm does come through, they're in the confines of a very secure spot in the house without having to go to a basement or go upstairs. Or if they don't even have a basement, they have a crawl space, this is probably what will give them the most secure spots in the house to go to. Adaptability, plan ahead to adapt your home as needed and as you change. And so, as I always try to share with people, if they're thinking about doing things to their house, sit down with your financial planner and sit down with your physical therapist, your occupational therapist, and understand truly what your long-term needs are going to be and what your long-term financial responsibility is going to be to live. If you're looking at doing a shower upgrade, that's going to cost you $10,000, but if you don't do that upgrade, then what's your other option? You go into assisted living for $10,000 a month. So the investment for doing these types of changes are very important to look at. So don't say a $10,000 bathroom remodel is going to be out of budget when you're going to spend that $10,000 in the first month if you're going to be living in an assisted living facility.
Could you share more information about the Sense floors and the Safe Room technology?
Yeah, so when you get into the Safe Room technology, it's basically, if you're living on a crawl space and if you're living on a slab and you have no place to go in the event of a storm, it's going to be very important that you have a place to go to. I think we see a pattern going on here in the United States that storms are getting more severe than they have been historically. And when you look at Category 4, Category 5 hurricanes, or when you look at whatever area of the country you're living into, it's smart to consult with whoever your builder is, whatever the kind of situation you have, is to build that into a house when you have an opportunity. It doesn't have to be a big space, but the homes that they're building today, especially on the production homes, they're not what I would call weather safe. If a storm were to come through, the house would be pretty well devastated. But I think it's worth the effort of building a house that has the confines of a space inside that is safe. So it's reinforced, and there's a number of ways you can do it. Typically I use 3/4 inch plywood, and then I screw it and glue it to the studded walls, and I glue and screw the studded walls to the floors, and I put 3/4 inch plywood on the ceilings as well. So it's not going to be totally 100% safe. If you get a 150 mile an hour wind, and all of a sudden you have a tree falling down a house, you're going to inflict damage on it. But if you get into that level, then you can actually drop concrete walls in there as well. So there's a lot of different technologies for Safe Room. As far as the SensiFloors, basically it's a very simple device. It just you lay it in places that you feel that are important. That's when you get into people that have memory loss or Alzheimer's. You really want to be able to watch them through some type of a Wi-Fi connected ability. So if they get up in the morning, it's 6 o'clock in the morning, they put their feet down, you get that alarm, they're up, they go to the front door, they're going to the front door. If you want to put one on the outside of the front door, it's like, oh my gosh, they're going outside the door now. It's like, all right, we better call somebody and see where they're going, because they're not supposed to be out there. Okay?
With a limited budget, what do you feel are the most important aging in place renovations one should make?
It's a matter of where you're going to spend most of your time, and I think it's going to be the kitchen and the bathroom. And it's important that if you're going to be spending that time in your kitchen, make it accessible and usable for yourself. I think the third place would be the front door, making sure that you can get in and out of your house safely. If you have 2 or 3 steps to get into your house, it's going to be not usable for you. It's going to be difficult for you to come and go. So it's going to kind of limit it's going to restrict your mobility as you want to come and go as you want to come and go.
Do you have your clients utilize home safety checklists?
Yes, I do. So when I go in and look at a house with a client, they have a very specific need that they maybe just want to do a bathroom remodel, or they want a kitchen remodel. But I try to encourage them, like in a situation where I had the mom and the dad and the 2 daughters, let's look at the rest of the house and see what other issues you may have or be concerned about for the dad's long-term needs. So there's a checklist that is involved in discussing as you go through it. And, I don't have to walk through it when I do it with them. I just basically give it to them, so it kind of gives them things to think about. So I think it's important to kind of look at, you don't think about all the things I'm talking about, lever doorknobs and switches and receptacle locations and switch locations and, things that are going to be safe or that require some attention. So, it's always thinking, it's like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that.